May 13th, 1862. The minutes before dawn are thick with fog and pressure along Charleston Harbor. Robert Small stands on the deck of the Confederate gunboat Planter, nerves like live wires, but his gaze steady and calm. All around him, the city sleeps, but below deck, his wife, children, and the families of his trusted crew barely breathe in the darkness, each aware that what's about to happen will decide their futures forever. Smalls pulls on the captain's coat, the hat fitting just so, ready to risk everything on a single brilliant gamble. Tonight isn't routine. Every movement has been rehearsed in silence. Smalls knows the exact moment to move, which guards rarely look up, which signals the batteries expect in the gray dawn. His memory is a map of every sandbar and sentry in the harbor. His courage is the only shield between hope and disaster. The Planter breathes quietly, engines waiting. Each minute, Smalls reminds himself, if a single step falters, if a single challenge isn't answered perfectly, it's not just his own life at risk. Everything hinges on discipline, timing, and the unfounded trust the Confederates have shown this overlooked pilot. In the stillness, Smalls gives the order. The lines slip quietly from their moorings. The Planter slides away from the dock as the city's lights flicker behind her, the darkness folding in. Within minutes, everyone aboard either crosses into a new future or disappears beneath the guns of the harbor. The hours leading up to the escape are a blur of tension and calculation. On the afternoon of May 12th, Robert Smalls goes through the motions as a seasoned pilot, his mind racing through routes, guard shifts, and every signal system etched into memory from years in Charleston Harbor. The Confederates trust him, convinced that no one from Smalls's crew could ever pull off a complex maneuver or decode military plans. Conversations and orders are spoken freely around him. Maps are left on tables within reach, and the city's rhythms seem set in stone by the sheer weight of habit. As dust settles, the harbor transforms. The white officers leave the Planter, heading ashore for the night. Smalls is now the highest-ranking crewman aboard, a position he's waited for and studied obsessively. He quietly gathers the others, sharing only what's needed. At midnight, trusted families begin to slip onto the ship, completely silent. Children are kept close. Mothers whisper instructions for perfect stillness. Every person below deck knows what's at stake. There is no need for speeches, only the certainty of what must be done. By 1 a.m., the Planter is loaded not with cargo, but with hope, family members, quiet resolve, and the conviction that they'll reach freedom or face the tragic consequences together. Outside, the massive fortifications of Charleston loom. The cannon-lined walls of Fort Sumter and Fort Moultrie are manned by soldiers ready to respond to any disturbance. But Smalls has memorized the pattern of every lantern, every turn of the night watch. He knows exactly when shadows on the water will mask their movement. The plan's genius is its simplicity and timing. Smalls and his crew wait for the right moment when no one suspects a change. At his signal, engines are fired up, steam hissing softly below deck. He dons the captain's jacket and hat, his posture studied until it's indistinguishable from the officer's precise movements. From the wharf, board sentries barely glance up. The departure seems routine, yet everyone on board is braced for disaster in case a single detail slips. The vessel moves away with careful precision, Smalls standing tall, every nerve on edge, but every action calm. Charleston Harbor, usually crowded and chaotic, is for one night their silent ally, with fog cloaking the Planter's progress and the city's indifference giving cover. For Smalls and those below deck, the moment is nearly unreal. A leap into the unknown with nothing but skill, trust, and timing to keep them alive. In the dead of night, the Planter glides across the silent harbor, its smokestacks billowing faint clouds that disappear into the sea mist. Robert Smalls stands at the wheel, his coat buttoned high, captain's hat perfectly poised. The faintest light from Charleston flickers behind, while ahead, the water is a moving black sheet, every inch hiding a new risk. As the steamer approaches its first checkpoint, Smalls signals with the bell. Two sharp rings echo over the dark water, the pre-arranged sign for the night watch. A Confederate sentry squints into the haze, lantern raised, but the silhouette matches the profile he expects. No alarm is raised, just as practiced, just as Smalls hoped. Below deck, families hold each other, barely breathing, every thump and whistle above taken as a sign of disaster or escape. Smalls keeps his composure, acting with the steady, confident motions he has learned by watching white captains command the planter. Confidence is everything. Doubt would mean death for all. Each fort lining the harbor, Sumter, Moultrie, Johnson, holds artillery crews capable of destroying the planter with a volley. Smalls dreams in routes and signals, calling for another blast of the ship's whistle in the coded order that marks the vessel as a friendly transport. The gates open, the way is clear, and the planter moves on. More than once, the tension nearly explodes. At one guard post, lights flash unexpectedly, and a sentry shouts down. Smalls stiffens his posture, offers the proper salute, and guides the steamer on as though nothing is amiss. The guard hesitates, then returns the gesture. The whistle of another ship drifts through the darkness. Each time, Smalls answers with unshakable calm. Inside, the temperature is suffocating, sweat beading on every brow as dawn threatens the protective cover of night. Smalls' hands are firm on the wheel, knuckles white. Every checkpoint passed is a victory and a step closer to the open sea. At the mouth of the harbor, the final Confederate guns loom, and one last set of signals is required. Smalls stands in full view, mimicking every detail of the captain's bearing. The cannon crew stand down, unfazed by the planter's approach. With a heavy exhale, Smalls finally sees the vast sweep of water leading out to the Atlantic. It is still dark enough for their luck to hold. The most dangerous phase is over, but the next harrowing step, approaching the Union blockade, waits on the horizon. As the planter pushes through the last Confederate checkpoint, the anxiety on board tightens even further. The open sea is minutes away, but now Smalls faces his riskiest maneuver yet. Approaching the Union blockade, a row of heavily armed warships that will fire on anything wearing Confederate colors. The crew and families below deck clutch each other, silent, knowing that one mistake means instant destruction. Smalls considers every detail, thinking through what the Union officers will see. A Confederate gunboat, moving fast, flying enemy flags. He stands tall on deck and lowers the Confederate banner, replacing it with a large white sheet tied to a pole, a sign of surrender crafted quickly from anything available. The moments stretch long as the vessel steams closer to the Union line, barrels of massive cannons tracking the planter's approach. Union lookouts spot the ship and sound the alarm, preparing to unleash devastating fire. Smalls keeps their course dead ahead, his signal clear, hands waving the white flag for all to see. The tension is palpable. He's careful to make himself visible on deck, hoping his actions will hold back a catastrophe. Finally, the lead Union ship, USS Onward, hesitates but does not fire. Voices shout across the water. Smalls stands at the rail and calls out for help, identifying himself and the planter. Union sailors rush to the deck, ready for anything. Smalls brings the ship alongside, the engines churning, and in an explosion of relief, the planter's passengers realize they have survived the gauntlet. Smalls delivers the vessel, its cargo of heavy artillery, and a trove of Confederate military secrets directly to the Union Navy. Adrenaline still racing, the planter's crew and families are welcomed aboard the Onward. Union officers quickly piece together Smalls' impossible achievement, his navigation, his timing, his boldness under threat, and word spreads quickly throughout the fleet. The Confederate war machine has been outmaneuvered by a pilot who rewrote every rule about courage, intelligence, and possibility. For Robert Smalls and everyone who trusted him, the impossible dream is now reality. They are safe, not only as survivors, but as agents of a historic turning point. The planter's escape will soon echo across the country, living proof that no barrier is insurmountable when determination, trust, and skill align. The immediate aftermath is a whirlwind of disbelief and jubilation. On board the Union ship, Smalls and his group are surrounded by sailors and officers stunned by his feat. Not only has Smalls delivered the planter undamaged, but he brings with him detailed maps, Confederate codebooks, signal flags, and valuable military intelligence from the heart of Charleston's defenses. Union officers quickly realize that he's not just a pilot, but a tactical asset. He knows which batteries are manned, the guard rotation schedules, and the precise placement of the city's artillery. Word spreads rapidly through the Union fleet and up the chain of command. For Smalls and the families who trusted him, the shock of survival slowly transforms into a sense of triumph. Their daring has given the Union Navy a strategic advantage. Within days, Union forces used Smalls' intelligence to capture nearby Coles Island and its string of batteries virtually without a fight. Smalls himself is immediately valued, not only for his courage, but also for his sharp memory and instincts. On deck, the mood is emotional and electric. Children cry from relief, mothers weep quietly, crew members hug each other and then stand in awe as the Union flag is hoisted above the planter. For the first time, these families truly feel the weight of the moment. They are safe, recognized for their bravery, and have achieved what seemed impossible just hours before. Smalls' achievement makes headlines across the North. Crowds gather as he's celebrated in Union ports, and he's invited to meet influential leaders who want to understand firsthand the strategy and nerve that fueled his escape. Military and political leaders press him for key details, eager to plan future maneuvers with his guidance. Though rested for only moments before the questioning begins, Smalls stands calm, focused, and dignified, answering every query with clarity. His achievement has not just saved lives, it's shifted the momentum of the war along Charleston's coast. The adrenaline settles, but the significance of the night lives on. One act of extraordinary bravery has rewritten the possibilities for all those still dreaming of freedom. Robert Smalls' legend grows in the days and months after the escape. The Union Navy immediately puts him to work as a pilot and military consultant, using his mastery of Charleston Harbor and his invaluable intelligence on Confederate defenses. Smalls leads gunboats through minefields, guides raids on enemy positions, and pilots vessels into combat with cool determination and unmatched skill. News of his feat sends shockwaves across the country. Northern newspapers hail Smalls as a hero, and leaders in military and political circles seek his insights firsthand. The planter itself joins the Union fleet, returning to battle with Smalls at the helm. He quickly distinguishes himself. In over 17 major engagements, his strategic expertise and fearless leadership changed the course of fighting on the southern coast. Smalls faces moments of crisis too. When a Union captain flees during a Confederate ambush, leaving his men exposed, Smalls takes over, piloting the ship to safety and refusing to surrender his crew. For this, he is promoted to acting captain, the first black man in American history to command a U.S. military vessel in combat. His example convinces Union brass and even President Lincoln of black Americans' ability to lead in war and peace. What began as an impossible escape transforms into a lasting impact. Smalls uses his fame to advocate for civil rights and the enlistment of black soldiers. He's awarded prize money from Congress, recognition for both the value of the ship and for his heroism, money that helps settle and provide for his family in the wake of war. Years later, Smalls' story becomes a beacon, proof that courage, intelligence, and drive can change history. His journey inspires thousands to join the cause for freedom and equality and sets a precedent for future generations of heroes. Robert Smalls' triumph didn't end with the end of the Civil War. His name, already famous across the North, became a legend across the entire country as stories of his courage and intelligence spread into every port and community. After piloting the planter on dozens of Union missions, Smalls was formally given the rank of captain in December 1863, the first black man to command a U.S. military vessel in combat. His leadership shattered every barrier the Confederacy had tried to build and became a living symbol of progress and possibility for generations to come. Smalls didn't return quietly to private life. Instead, he transformed his hero status into power for the people. Returning to his hometown of Beaufort, he used his prize money to purchase the house where he and his family had once been held against their will. a stunning reversal that became the talk of Reconstruction-era South Carolina. He was present at every critical moment as the South remade itself, fighting for voting rights, public education, and a new state constitution that acknowledged the equality of all people. As a politician, Robert Smalls shattered limits no one thought possible. He served multiple terms in the South Carolina legislature and 5 terms in the United States House of Representatives. In each role, he advocated for the rights of his neighbors, championing integration of public places, pushing for equitable transportation policies, and opposing the return of discriminatory laws that threaten freedom hard-won. Through it all, he stayed true to his roots and his mission, building institutions, providing charity, and using his influence to help Black Americans prosper in the uncertain years that followed the war. The psychological impact of Smalls's rise was immense. Former adversaries watched as the man they dismissed, once treated as incapable of leadership, steered not only warships but entire communities and regions into a new era. When his former owner's widow faced poverty, Smalls allowed her to remain in the house he owned, a gesture of dignity that spoke to his character and solidified his place in local lore. Even after his time in Congress, Smalls continued to fight for justice, confronting entrenched opposition and defending the rights of his people against new forms of discrimination. His extraordinary journey, from the daring night on the planter through battles in halls of government to his final years as a respected elder, showed that, given opportunity and trust, the most underestimated among us can transform a nation. Robert Smalls left a legacy not just of military heroism, but of strategic thinking, moral courage, and a lifelong commitment to lifting up those who came after him. His name endures wherever people fight for freedom and dignity, and his story is a blueprint for what is possible when courage defeats every lie told by history's oppressors.